Hey guys, Jeff here, and today I'm building a 100% waterproof shower system using a tile Redi shower base, the Schluter Kerdi board, and water-resistant drywall for the ceiling. Remember, even a small mistake can turn into a nightmare and cause you to have to tear it all out and build it again. That's why I chose this particular products, because they minimize almost every potential for a mistake that you can make as a DIYer, and it helps to guarantee success. Let's jump into the video, and I'll show you how to do it once and do it right. All right guys, so step one, it's always basically the same thing. It's level, square, and plumb. The shower pans are gonna come extremely square. So if your room isn't square, you're gonna run into all kinds of issues. So first of all, let's check the level of this. We'll go corner to corner here, and we're just double checking. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be within 3/8 of an inch. And that'll allow for all kinds of different site conditions, whether you're on concrete or if you're on a second floor, let's say you're on OSB. You're gonna have dips and valleys and that sort of thing. So just go corner to corner, check your ball, and as long as that's level and you don't have any voids that are more than 3/8 of an inch, we're gonna be okay. I do have a little bit of a site condition here for myself. Some of this concrete is really peaked and bumpy, so we're gonna fix that right now before I move forward. This is a DeWalt grinder, and underneath here, this is what we call a cup grinder blade. This is steel with chunks of diamond in it. It's basically like a sanding disc, but for concrete. And there we go. That gets rid of all of those ridges. Now we are ready to move to the next step. We also have to check the square. Now, if you're framing your own room, use this while you frame or use lasers. But here's the basic idea. You want to go across a couple of stud members to your wall plate, okay? Now, if it opens up a little bit, that's okay. If it closes, you run the risk of the new pan not fitting in the space, all right? So be careful there. And that is absolutely perfect. So we've got level, we've got square, now we've got to check plumb. That is the act of the wall, north and south here. Perfect on this side. Not terrible, but not perfect. Yeah, all right, here we go. Let's get this absolutely perfect. Wow, look at that. That was out almost 1/2 inch at the top, Matt. Wow. Now we've got it level, plumb, and square. Now step 2 is to do a dry fit. And so basically what that means is you're gonna take your pan, come and put it in the space and make sure that it fits. Now, in almost every renovation or remodeling situation, the plumbing is gonna be the tricky situation. Over here, we're new construction and we're in a concrete slab. So this pipe has been moved to this location, protected by the blocking for the backfill of the concrete to maintain the integrity of that hole. We're gonna actually remove that now. What I did is I bent the blade so I can reach into the hole and come across at the pipe. Hopefully this works really well. Close enough. All right. Next step of the install is this. Depending on your site conditions, all right? I'm on slab, so I don't have access underneath. If you have access underneath your floor, then what you're gonna do is just put the pan in place and then do all your plumbing after the fact once your thin set has all hardened up. If you don't have access, then there's 2 kinds of install options. One is we're gonna install the pan with our plumbing, and we have to have what we call a stub out, okay? Comes out of our drain. It needs to finish 1/2 inch from the bottom of your floor. If you install the thin set according to directions, then the stub out is going to enter into the 2-inch drain to the right height to get a good seal, all right? So this is really critical. So it's just a matter of doing a dry fit. We're gonna go and grab the pan now, do a dry fit with the location, make sure that we're good before we go adding all of our glue. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we go. All right, let's pull this out now. Okay, so now it's time to mix some thin set. And yes, you're correct. This is the wrong paddle. You should have something that's round, okay? This is for mixing drywall mud. But we just checked the garage, and that's all we got today, so we're gonna have to go with it. basic formula for mud. We're going to throw in about 1/4 of a bucket of water. And about a half of this. If you're going to be mixing indoors, set up a vacuum like this with a 2-inch plumbing fitting. Just tape it together. You grab the wrong mixer, you get to mix it. Holy cow, just about dropped it all, eh? Well, let's see if that's enough. We're going to use a directional troweling technique here. Okay. When I put this pan in, I'm not going to be able to shake it left and right. I'm going to maybe be able to go this way a little bit. So we're going to change the direction once I get it all spread out. There's the directional. Now I can see my line in the hole in here, so I know where to connect all the dots. Okay. When you're plumbing, you always put solvent on the fitting and the pipe. Okay. The goal here is to try to be quick because this particular product does allow me a little bit of mercy. Okay. We're going to stick it in the hole, same location. Now, this product, this is a special solvent that transitions from ABS to the PVC. All right, here we go. Okay. Now. Okay. All right, Matt. Pan. Okay. 1 second real quick. Just going to do inside the fitting here. Okay. Let's go. Get into the right there. Straight down. Remember, we're going to roll it into place, right? Okay, a little bit further back. Push your corner in towards me on the back. There you go. Okay, now I need my wrench. Okay. Oh, actually, just give me the mallet. Okay. Put that in the plumbing drain. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, can I get the 2-foot level on the curb? Thank you, sir. Okay, that's actually pretty nice. Can you put it on your short side over there? We're in good shape. Okay, so what we have here is in order to collapse these ridges, I can pull it towards me a little bit, give it a bit of a shake. Okay, and then you throw the level on again. Loving it. You hit the other side. There we go. That is about as close to perfection as you're going to want to get. Okay. Remember, anything between these lines is great. Everything comes pre-sloped, so we're not going to have any problems. Now all we got to do is let that sit overnight. And see, here we are. We have a little bit of a shimming issue. But we will address that in the morning as soon as this is dry. Right now. Okay, well, next day. Solid as a rock here, guys. Like that is, wow, that's not, no foam board custom shower, okay? This is a brand new product called Redi Your Way. This is custom ordered, okay? So I take my measurements, drain location, whether I want the curb or just a walk-in. They manufacture it, ship it to you, and then all you gotta do is follow this video to do the installation, and you are guaranteed to have a shower that will never leak. Now, we're gonna go through the rest of the waterproofing system because it's a very important, aspect of it. But in my professional experience, 99% of all the leaks happen right here in this corner or right around whatever drain installation system is installed. With this, you have monolithic everything, okay? That eliminates almost every possibility of a problem. And listen, guys, if you're thinking about using a custom shower pan in your next project, Tile Redi is actually rolling out this brand new line with a flat bottom so that you don't have to use the mortar bed. Just drop the thin set and go. We'll put a link in the video so that you guys can check that out and follow that link and order yours. Cheers. So for those of you who haven't seen this, the Kerdi board, it is a foam board, okay? And it has the vapor barrier fleece on both sides. This is a stainless steel washer, stainless steel screws come in this kit, okay? Okay, now that is installed flush, but watch this. We're gonna go a couple more turns. Now we're gonna install it so it's dimpled. There we go, all right? All right, and just for you guys, if you put your trowel here, there's no contact, okay? You're not hitting it. That's what you want. So having that deep, so we're not creating a ridge. Here we are again. All right. Once you get the hang of it, you don't have to keep testing over and over and over again. It's just a really good practice to get into. But you want to have a screw every 16 inches, all right? That's really the whole gig. This is a traditional way to install a shower pan wall, all right? And then what we would usually do is down here where this joint takes place, okay, we would just use the thin set and the Kerdi band, and that would be the seal. But we're not doing that today. We're gonna show you how to get an even better seal than just the Kerdi band. Now, this is Schluter's Kerdi-Fix. This is a sealant that is, in my opinion, the easiest way to understand it. We'll just call it 10 times better than silicone, okay? All right, what we're doing is we're just cutting this hole a little bit big. We're gonna thread this on. And I think this, like, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks a tube. I don't care, because it works. And when I got a guarantee and I got to spend a few bucks for a guarantee, it's worth it every single time. Here we go. We're going to just throw this thick bead, okay? And I'm going to just hold it right there on the edge. And we're going to do a nice big dollop of goop. We're not in a hurry. I'm literally looking for something that's about 1/4 of an inch thick. Perfection takes patience. Taking the time to do this slow, you're gonna be able to know that you did a good job. All right, now, has a cap. We'll put that on and save that for later. Let's get our board back. We'll get it installed. And we're gonna push against the wall and slide it right into that goop. Okay, first thing we're going to do is take some screws and washers in the corners. Okay, now, one of the benefits of this board is it has the grid system in it. Okay, so every square is 1/2 inch. And so instead of having to pull out a tape measure every time, I'm going, okay, so well, let's go every 12 inches. I think the product specs is every 12. You can follow this line and go, okay, here, that's my next one. That's the stud. Okay, you don't have to be pulling out a measuring tape all day long. But all right. The other thing you can do to speed things up, so it's got these teeth right here to set inside the membrane. All right, so you can just set it where you want it. Set it and forget it. Come back with a handful of screws and do all this in a minute. That speeds it up a lot. Well, that wall's on. Let's do the next one. We have a new window going in. So until then, I'm just going to trace out the glass location. All right. So we can have the daylight coming in here. And we're saving all these offcuts to use as our jamb extensions for all the windows in this house down here. It can be used in a variety of places. All right. Now that's about as snug as a bug in a rug, eh? So I have two different pieces here. I can screw both of them down with one screw. Make sense? And then about every 12 inches. Now. All right, there we go. That's the back wall. Now, we have a bit of a gooey mess down there, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna clean that up so that it doesn't harden in place, cause me any kind of an issue when I go to tile. Now I am warning you, this stuff is really gooey, okay? So when you do wipe it, get it in the garbage as fast as possible before you end up getting it on the floor or wearing it on your clothes. All right, so what we're gonna do here now is we're going to install the Schluter board onto the wood. You will notice that we do not have a perfect scenario here. Let's just follow the tape measure way down here. I'm making contact on this corner. I'm not making contact on this corner, okay? That means that my wall isn't perfectly square. Your walls are not going to be perfectly square. So we're going to show you how to compensate for that. And that's an easy fix. So I got to cut all of my panels first because we're going to have the same problem on each side. Here we go. In the back here, I made contact with the frame, but out here, I've got a pretty good gap. You know, one of the other reasons I love this so much is because it's so lightweight. Beautiful. All right, now let's just do a quick marking technique here. All right, we're going to find out where the holes go, okay? A little bit of this on here. There we go. That's all we need. We'll set this back in place. Okay, we want to get this right the first time. Okay. So we're going to hold it right and tight to the wall. There we go. And that has translated my locations. Not bad, eh? A little bit of movie magic here. Now, we're going to make our holes just a little bit bigger, guys, all right? Okay. Now, okay. That's dry fit. Now we're going to dry fit the next two. So here's the concept. In the corner we're fine. This is flat. But over here I want this, but in actuality I got that. So I can't tile that without adding a whole pile of extra thin set. That is why we've got to make it flush. And that's what shimming out the wall is going to do for us. Okay, I would rather this sitting on the pan than the floor. So we're going to trim that back a little bit so that we get nice contact. That is so much better. Okay. All right. So you can see now that my 1/2-inch drywall for this piece can actually slide in behind. All right. And then the drywall on this one will come right up to it. We've got a nailing surface all the way around. I love the up the nose shot. All right, next step, while we got our thin set setting up, we're going to stick these out just a little bit. And we're gonna mark our studs on our pan. If you don't have this yet, I'm a big fan of the brown tape. This stuff is only $2 or $3 a roll, not 8 like the blue stuff. And guess what? It's tape, just like any other tape. We got that done. We have to get the Kerdi out. Yeah. Same thing, we're looking for that 1/4 inch bead. And we're looking to bring it down here as well. Now, of course, on this build, I also use pressure treated lumber. Remember, don't worry about it if you come around the front. It's all going to get tiled eventually anyway. Okay. Now, in this particular wall over here, we have a good contact on this stud, and this one and this one are not so great, okay? So, take our thin set, get it off the water lines here a little bit. Okay. There we go. Yep, and it's going to be messy. Now, the thicker you make this, the less messy it'll be. But then the less working time you have on it as well, okay? Just remember, thinset has a working time, potable life. So the thicker you make it, the less potable life. Okay? Now, I don't know how bad the scenario is all the way to the top. All I do know is that if I shim the whole stud, whatever situation's going on, I can fix it as I go. Now, to get into the corners, you're gonna wanna have a margin trowel. You're gonna wanna use the back side of it, okay? And just go like that. Okay? There we go. And of course, all of this is easily cleaned up with water and a sponge. So no need to panic. All right. Beautiful. Now, we're going to put on one wall at a time here. Okay. Lift, slide, drop. There we go. Okay. All right, now, the way that the system works, it's really simple. We take our washer and our screw, and we're simply going to check for flush, which is perfect right now, okay? And that's my stud. I'm going to come up here a little bit. That's it. I'm not dimpling, I'm not putting any extra pressure, I'm simply holding this in place until all that thin set dries up. Okay, that's it. Good. All right. Beautiful. Now, for wet shimming. Oh, I got white stuff on me. Great. That'll be with me forever. That stuff never comes off. Alrighty. There we go. There we go. Now, I'm going to hold this to the wall. Okay. Now, we can see I got a bit of a gap. It's nice and tight at the top. Let's take a look. That's actually perfectly level. So, no need to make any changes. We're simply going to take one of these. I'm going to follow that 2 lines over from the dark. And then the middle. There we go. And I'm going to throw a few more screws without compressing it in all these areas, just to make sure the depth of that wall doesn't change between now and tomorrow morning. There we go. That's wet shimmed. Okay. Now just the presence of that thin set created enough of a build out that we're perfect now. The other side is going to be a little different because we have a plumb corner, and let's take a look at this. This one is slightly out, but still pretty plumb. So we want to bring our wall and then bend it back to our finish. Yep, and that can be done. Now, same thing, only different, okay? We have this stud. We need a fair amount of cement on this one. All right. All right, that one's done. And then we have one more. There we go. Okay, so let's go. Okay. All right. We're going to go with 6. To get started, all right. Next piece. Okay, now yep, I am out a little bit. Here we go. So we're going to just put this on the wall. Okay, and then we're going to just go like this. Till it's perfect. Okay. That's all we got to do, guys. Well, there we go. That is another shower ready for installation. Almost. All right, guys, it's next day, and here we are. Wet shimming is dry, solid as a rock. Time to sink in our screws. Oh, a little aggressive. There we are. Matter of fact, while we're thinking about it, why don't we go to the other side of the ball and take a look at what it looks like from the backside, because it's not closed up yet. Here we go. This is rock hard thin set, all right? The beauty about this material, because it's the Schluter all set, is that it bonds to things that are plastic based and to wood, which is amazing. So this is how you make a wet shim. Nice and simple. Now our wall is perfectly flat, and it's going to make the tile installation so much easier. So to finish the waterproofing, we have joints and we have screw caps. And we want to talk about how we bond the wall panel to the base. Now, undoubtedly, there's a lot of guys who are probably not going to be happy about what I'm going to do here, but I hate the whole idea of using Kerdi tape, cutting it with scissors, mixing thin set, applying it to every single one of these screw holes. Okay? In my world, that's done. That is so much faster. I can be nice and liberal with it. There we go. Done. Yeah, I know, guys. This is actually something I learned when I took my Schluter course. Was it 10 years ago? That this Kerdi-Fix is actually a better water sealant for waterproofing techniques than their Kerdi band is. All right, so whenever you had a problem, oh, I didn't use enough goop. Whenever you had a problem with like a penetration, you could just use this, right? So let's say I have a penetration in my wall. Penetration. You know, when you're tiling. Waterproof. Done. No 2-inch overlap, no thin set, no fuss, no muss. And so this is how I like to fill my screw holes, because it's super quick. And I know it's waterproof. All right, guys, so now we're going to show you the more traditional approach, okay? You get a Kerdi band, and you want to cut this into a square. So the same width as it is length. You just fold it in half like that. You can guess. Now, this is a plastic. It's manufactured to have a fleece on both sides. The fleece is what bonds to the thin set, because as the thin set dries, it crystallizes a little bit and gets a good bond on it. That's how that works. So here we go. We're going to grab our Schluter Kerdi trowel. All right. This is a specially formulated depth gauge for the rake. We got our thin set. All right, and you'll notice that the trowel and the square is about the same size. So you go about an inch or so higher. There we go. You write that out, and then you just press that in. Okay. Now, the waterproofing concept here is this. There's just a little bit of thin set. Okay? And so what we want to do is we want to hold it still. We want to compress that into the wall. And the idea here behind the Schluter system is, if the puncture is here, you've got 2 inches above, below, left, and right. A 2-inch overlap of a plastic with a plastic makes it really hard for the water to penetrate in between those two layers at that thickness that we established. Now, we are going to rely on the system here for our horizontal and our vertical joints. The vertical joint is really great in this regard. For this, we're going to take our thin set. Oh. Right away, I've already got a problem. All right, okay. We're going to apply it to both sides of the corner. Now here's our point where we're going to bridge. I'm going to go right to the base. Okay. All right. All right. Now, the way I like to do it is get it all the way to the top, measure it down to the ground. Okay. Make sure you use a pair of scissors or a really sharp knife. If you have to start tugging or pulling to cut through this plastic, which is what happens, it's really quite normal, then you're going to end up, losing control and put this knife right through your hand. Now, we want to put it in folded. Okay, so fold the joints. Get a good 3 feet or so and run it off the side of the pail. Put a crease in it, okay? If you crease it in advance, the installation will go a lot easier for you. All right. I'm just going to gently set that in there. Now, here we go. So you gotta always use a trowel to hold this stuff steady to get pressure in the corners. Hold the material and then you can scrape it. Okay? Get rid of all the excess. Now, once we got it started, we'll just hold it still. Keep a bit of an angle like a snowplow. And be careful. Don't put too much pressure in that corner if it's not pushed in all the way. You'll cut right through that membrane. Okay? Always clean up any extra thin set so it's not in the way when you go to tile. All right. And that is how you joint tape Kerdi membrane. Perfect every time. We're going to be bringing tile outside the waterproofing area. Okay, so here's our tile. We're going to bring the tile past that area. Okay, probably 4 to 6 inches. So I'm only going to waterproof up to here. All right, there's no sense waterproofing a part of the wall that's going to be outside past your tile. So just thinking and from the beginning. There we go. Now, let's go tackle the most important part down here by the base. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to think waterproofing is being able to say or resist the water. Water diversion is just telling water where to go. Now, when you're down here, in the most dangerous part of the shower, what you want to do is waterproof, not just water divert. So if all I do is use the membrane tape, and then it somehow manages to stay wet, then all I'm doing is diverting water to the corner. I'm not waterproofing. So what I like to do is tape this to the next level. I'm gonna get my waterproofing tape on here. Okay. Same process, we'll get this pressed in. Always thinking about your tiling job. You don't want to have any bumps anywhere. Clean as you go. There's 2 more steps to this for waterproofing this area. One process is the use of an outside corner. Now, Schluter has manufactured inside and outside corners. In case you weren't aware, they come in packages of 2. This membrane is a little bit thicker. And what we need to do here is we want to put that on the corner, see? So it actually wraps the corner. There's no joint. All right? Now this is important. You're also going to see that this only comes to the edge of the curb. All right? So once I put this on, I'll take another piece of the cloth and I'll seam tape that. Let's just get this on first. The reason I want this part waterproofed is even though my wall can't be harmed with the presence of water, if I get water coming in behind the tile. And over here is not very likely, but we're just going to go through the process anyway. Because if you're going to waterproof, just waterproof. Don't try to figure out where the water is going to come from. You don't know everybody's showering habits, right? Here we go. So put this together. We'll press that corner in. And then it's up to us to figure out how deep they're to cut. All right. Okay, so same thing. We're going to use the trowel, hold that joint tape in there. Okay. There we go. Okay. This is pretty much the point where everybody in my business stops. Okay. They're following the Schluter protocol. We have our 2-inch overlaps. We've got all of our gaps are covered. We've got all of our joints covered. At this point, any water that falls in behind this tile, if it hits here, it can go left or right. So it either goes in the shower to the drain, which is not very likely because I believe this curb has got a small angle. But if it goes to this way, it's going to come out here into my concrete. Now for you folks at home, if you're putting this on OSB, this is the point where once this is all dried up, you can actually come back and you can Kerdi membrane to your OSB from your wall and your shower pan and make sure that everything is perfectly watertight. And you can actually paint your OSB with a waterproofing membrane. If you find that there's going to be value there, it just gives you a little bit more protection. Remember, when you're on wood, the longer you can keep the water from getting to the wood, the more likelihood that that water will dry into the atmosphere. Because once it gets to the floor's got thin set, the floor's got grout, and then there's exposure to air, and water will always travel where it's dry. So if you have a membrane on your OSB, you give the opportunity for that to dry out. Now, the last step, and this is what I don't see too many people doing. It's making sure that the gap between the pan and the wall is not just a water diversion system, because right here is where water can get through. Okay? Now it's not likely, but if you really want waterproof, and not just likely, not going to be a problem, then this is what you have to do. You take your, just pretend it's like caulking the trim. Now this stuff can be applied to wet thin set with no problem, okay? Now we're outside the shower. All we're gonna do is make sure there's a nice healthy bead here. We're gonna flatten it in, putting pressure to the orange membrane. There we go. Now I'm guaranteed waterproof, because this stuff actually is waterproof when it's in contact with the orange board. The thin set is just incredibly water resistant. There's a difference.